Okay, so doing this review early today because of the non-farm payrolls, which is in about 30 minutes time. So let's have a look at the ES here. So this is the 120-minute chart from yesterday that I've just updated. And I think it's likely we're coming up here. It's just a question of how. So at the moment, we've got an A, B, C up, which I think is probably an A wave, B back, and then C up into the target region. The count that I detailed in the S&P 500 cash index with a larger diagonal is still valid in this index as well. So it's very, very tricky to try and ascertain what pattern price action is going to play out in. But ultimately, I'm expecting this to drag out for another few weeks yet, Hurst-wise, and I'm expecting a lower low at the end of the process. So in the meantime, all we can do is best efforts on the anticipating what the pattern is on the larger time frames and continue with the micro charting during the day and day trading. Interestingly, if I look at this 15-minute chart with this unfolding impulse that we were looking at, and if you recall yesterday in the room, we were looking for a pullback in a 4 to the 26.42 to maybe 26.26 region. Well, effectively, we've just got that as an A, B, C, and it hasn't actually invalidated this impulse up in the ES, nor has it done so in the Dow. It has done in the NASDAQ. However, the NASDAQ only got as far as its 1.0 extension and didn't get any further. So I think that's probably the clue that we're not going to get a full impulse up. We would expect, if we're in the next bull phase, for the NASDAQ to lead, not to lag the price action. Meantime, day trading levels. So watch these blue lines today during the non-farm payroll announcements. Obviously, we expect the usual volatility, and then let's see what reaction we get to these lines during the time, but it's really just the 5 or 10 minutes around that time frame. Then either we're going to get a trend for the day in a particular direction typically, or we're just going to get nothing for the rest of the day. It's a Friday afternoon after major news announcements. Typically we get nothing. What I wouldn't suggest anyone does is hold open positions over the weekend in futures. Markets are too volatile. Every single news item, as you saw last night, is getting a disproportionate reaction, quite frankly. So not a great time to be holding futures over a weekend. Let's just have a quick look now at the NASDAQ. So again, you can see this move up here. I think that's an A wave. We get a B, C up into the target region is what I would anticipate in the NASDAQ. And again, just looking at that 15-minute chart, this was the impulse I was starting to track. You can see it came up to the 1.0, whereas the ES came up to the 1618, and that's it. That's all we've got. So look at the retraces against this, and then obviously the intraday lines, but you can see pretty flat since last night's drop. And we'll see what the non-farm payrolls brings. Dow Jones Industrial, again, I think we've got an ABC. Technically, it hasn't invalidated an impulse to the upside. We can still go up here in one move, but I think it would look better as an A, come back down further as a B, and then come up. But I'll leave the more immediately bullish count on here until it disproves itself, which is what I'm expecting it to do, by the way. Excuse me a moment. Dry throat, talking too much. In the meantime, we have the day trading levels to work from. Okay, let's now take a look at CL this morning. So again, this I think it is just an unfolding larger diagonal. So an ABC 1 to ABC 3 into the 123.6. This high yesterday came up and hit the 618 on the nose. So we should be coming down in this 5, unless it's going to throw one more curved ball at us. And this is an A of 4. We get a deep B and the C of 4 up to the 764, 786. So infuriating and frustrating as this pattern is in CL, I think it's all part of the wave 1 down of the bigger C of 4 that we're playing for, which I'm not expecting to complete until end of May time. So that's what I've got in CL this morning. And then again, day trading chart. So I'm looking for it to break below today's lower blue line and carry on down ideally during today, and offer up hopefully some suitable day trades during the day. And would you believe it, just to make life interesting, motive wave has hung up on me. Hang on a second. Just have to reopen it, won't be a sec. Okay, where were we? So GC and Natty Gas next. So GC, we've taken out this support just. However, we've come down and spiked into the 1.0 extension, which is the next danger level. So 1321 is the next level of micro support in this chart that I want to see taken out. So I want to see that taken out and GC come down to the 123.6 here in this hourly chart at 1313. Small bounce, and then so on and so forth. And this is just a slightly updated version of the chart that I put on, updated last night on the main site. So working our way in an impulse now down to 1285 is what I'm looking for in GC, and that continues to play out at the moment. Day trading wise, again, obviously I'm looking for the lower blue line to give at 1322. So looking for short opportunities day trading wise in GC today. So NG, let's go here. So we got out of this here the other day in terms of UGAS, which proved to be a reasonably sensible thing to do. It certainly felt like it yesterday. The question now is what's going on here. We've got an A, B, C. So we've got to clear 2725, 2735 region. But even then, we will get another pullback against this move up, and that would get me into UGAS, probably a full position this time. So I'm expecting more upside. So it can still come down and hit this 2642 to 2627 region. So I'm just going to watch this carefully today and see if we can get the opportunity for the swing long entry again in natural gas today. Meanwhile, as you can see this morning, we've come right up to the upper blue line off yesterday's lows. So it's looking quite strong this morning, and I'd expect it to go higher before we get that pullback in actual fact. Let's come over and look at the currencies next. So the US dollar this morning, pretty lackluster, which is what you expect. I didn't really expect much price action in anything this morning until we get non-farm payrolls out of the way, and it has been relatively slow pre-market today and in the European market. So still expecting a 4.5 in this. So euro, now the euro as of yesterday had come down and into the target zone. This morning it came down, it hit this 2.0 extension here on the nose, okay, at 122.14. So either you should have closed the rest of your shorts or just trail down, excuse me, with tight stops on the remainder of them. You don't really want to be risking too much now. You've had a nice trade, but what we're looking for is this move back up from somewhere around where we are now, and then we can get short for the bigger move to the downside later. Cable this morning, again, it needs to drop down here. The micro pattern in cable is you know, it's not doing anything wrong per se, but it's infuriatingly messy. But this looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4. We should drop down here now to complete this 5 of this 3, then a 4, 5 in cable. So just going to be patient and put up with the intraday nonsense in this thing until we get to our target. Now, US dollar Japanese yen yesterday came and took out that 107.30 level. So I think what we've got here, if I go to the 4-hour chart, is this B wave is in, and we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a smaller diagonal, and we're on our way up. So what I'm tracking now is another diagonal. Would you believe? You get a lot of diagonals in currencies, which, if you think about it, they're not a directional thing. They're one against another. So 1, 2, 3 up to the 123.6, 4 that overlapped, A, B, C, and I think this just needs one last squiggle up. Then what I'm going to be looking at is the retrace levels against it, combined with those Hurst cycle oscillators that I posted with the email on the Hurst charts this morning in this pair, to get a long trade in place in the US dollar Japanese yen. And that's a very attractive trade. You know, we're going all the way up here to 118.90 or higher, I would think, in this pair. And then the Australian dollar, excuse me, not quite sure whether we're going to get whether this is all of the 4. It didn't quite get to a fib, and we get a B, C, then drop, but still expecting lower. Hurst is still pointing lower for a number of weeks, and then we'd be looking for the long trade in this pair as well, up to, sorry, this has thrown all my charts out, up to this 123.6 extension, all the way up here at 84.89 in the Australian dollar. Bitcoin this morning, it's getting dangerously close, this thing, to taking out this support. It's right on that support zone again. Takes that out, and I have to rethink in terms of the pattern to lower, but I'm pretty convinced we've got quite a lot lower to see ultimately in Bitcoin before we start the journey to a new high in the cryptocurrency. Now, last thing to take a quick look at is the European indices this morning. And you can see FTSE doing very, very little this morning. It's just hanging round up at the top of this, where I've got this area for the 4. As long as it stays below 72.55 and then drops, then this pattern remains valid. And I am still expecting one last low in the UK FTSE to complete the 4. German DAX, again, I'm still expecting, I think we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4. We just drop down and hit this fib that we haven't quite got to yet, and complete the pattern also in the German DAX. And again, same thing as the FTSE, not a lot of price action this morning, just hanging around up here. Need to see it drop. Okay, that's what I've got for now. I'll be back about 5 minutes before, or 2 or 3 minutes before the non-farm payrolls announcement, and we'll keep the ES charts up and keep a close eye on the metals at the same time.